Hello, everyone. I'm Ganesh Swami. I'm one of the co-founders of Covalent. And today I'm going to do a quick walk through the AI Agent SDK. This is a TypeScript SDK that we've built for developers, and you can use this SDK to launch agents. So these agents are can perform any kind of task, but it's not just these agents. You can also make these agents autonomous. And we're introducing this concept known as a zero employee enterprise, ZEE in short. And what this does is that it brings together the swarm of agents that can iteratively and collaboratively solve any kind of complex problem. And you can see all of the inner workings of how these agents are able to collaborate. And so this is relying on a technique called chain of thought models. This is a new way of using these LLMs. So what you're doing is you just like if you were to ask someone, give me a solution to a math problem, they're not going to give you like a Google search result, right? Google search results, you type in a query, it gives you an instantaneous result. Here, what it does is they probably go away and then take a couple of minutes, couple of hours, and then work through a couple of solutions, think through the problem, reason through the problem, and then suggest a solution. And if it's not able to provide a solution, it's able to show you the inner workings of how far it was able to get. So that's basically what's happening with this new form of LLMs. And so we rely on this technique to have these agents basically ping pong and challenge each other and bring autonomy to their inner workings. And this is what makes them super exciting. So let's jump right into the code. So the first thing I would ask you to do is this agent SDK is fresh off the press. We literally just released this as open source today. And so the first thing I would recommend you read is the blog post that announces the ZEE concept. And so I'm going to share my screen now, and then the rest of the this recording will have with screen share. And so this blog post is just on the covalenthq.com. So you can just go to the blog and see this is the agent SDK version 2. We've had to rebuild this SDK from the ground up because a lot of the assumptions we've made during the first version of the SDK, which by the way was only in December, and crypto AI agents, all the stuff moves like so fast. So you have to rethink and challenge your assumptions at all points. So this is basically telling you what's going on here. We've doubled down on the crypto use cases as opposed to building a generalized, AI agent tool. And so it just tells you how you can do all of this stuff. And then the next thing, what you need to do is you need to go to the GitHub repo. So this is right here. Actually, before going to the GitHub repo, I would recommend you go to the docs, which gives you an overview. So go to cxt.build, and this is the overview of how the SDK works, the different components, how do you actually build an agent, how do you piece together tools, and how do you build a ZEE workflow. So let's walk through some of the concepts here. So the first concept is an LLM, right? So what an LLM does is it's just a thin wrapper over one of the language models. But the beautiful thing here is you're able to access about a dozen different LLMs. So what you see here is the OpenAI LLM, DeepSeek, Grok, Gemini, and then they obviously take different environment variables. And so you literally just have to initialize an LLM with the provider and with the name of the actual model. So that's what's pretty interesting about this. The second concept you need to be aware of is what is known as an agent. And so an agent, it basically has a name. It obviously uses a model. It has a description of what the agent is supposed to do and a set of instructions on, what is the basis of this agent. And so here, this specific agent, this example is a reporting agent, relies on OpenAI's 4.0 mini, and this agent is responsible for generating reports, and it generates a report on the current state of the company. So that's basically how an agent does. Now, what's also special is that these agents are completely stateless, which means they don't have any kind of memory or something. And so here, or they cannot really access the outside world. And so here, this is where you would add tools. So you would just go add some tools. We have one tool currently built, but there's a lot more being built behind the scenes. And you're also welcome to contribute tools to the SDK. So one of the tools we have is the GoldRush on-chain data tool. And so this allows you to get token balances, NFT holdings, transaction history, all kinds of things. And so when you go back to the agent and you give it the tools, then what the agent is able to do when you run the agent using agent.run, it's able to it's able to solve the problem and the instructions that you've given, but also use these external tools. So it's important to describe these tools in a very in a very descriptive way so that the LLM knows, okay, at this point, I have access to this tool, and therefore I can basically outsource the thinking to this tool. And then the framework automatically calls this. It's basically function calling. So that's like the cool thing about the agent stuff. And here, this is some description on what the tools can do. Not only can it call external APIs like the GoldRush API, the GoldRush API gives you access to about 100 different blockchains. It's also another Covalent product. But the other beautiful thing is that it can also structure the output from these agents. So this is how you create a tool, you create a schema, and so on. And then the most exciting thing is actually the ZEE workflow. So what the ZEE workflow does is you combine a set of agents, and then you give it some kind of like goal. And then what essentially this workflow does is internally it has a router that basically does ping pong between the different agents and their respective tools. And any kind of memory that is stored on the ZE layer. And so in theory, what you can do is you can actually use Gemini for, let's say, a multi-model agent. And then you can use, let's say, DeepSeek because it's really good at certain set of problems. And you can actually get these two models actually speak to each other and ping pong, and iterate and then solve this problem. And so that's really what's cool about this whole thing. And then why don't I jump to the actual repo and give you a lay of the land. All of this is open source, so what we're looking is to get builders to either build using the SDK or directly contribute to the SDK. So I'll get into the layout of the repo in a bit. So here, what we have is this thing is completely open. So just go to covalenthk.com, AI Agent SDK. It's also linked from the blog post. It's also linked from cxt.build. It should be everywhere. It's from the Covalent homepage. It's hard to miss. If you still miss it, I think we've done a bad job here. But it's available. It's easily accessible, and then you can outsource this. Sorry, you can check out this code and then build it yourself and so on. So what this does is basically you can go to the packages, and within the packages you have the AI Agent SDK, and then you can look at the source, and then you have all of these LLMs. You have the base and the state. So let's take, for example, you want to contribute a new LLM. So go to the LLM, and then you open up index.ts. And so what you see here is you have some definitions for OpenAI's models, DeepSeek models, Grok model, Gemini model, and then it's missing Anthropic. Anthropic is another fantastic model. It's missing other kinds of like hosted models, maybe even so another nice contribution could be is refer to Akash's inference API or one of the other providers out there. Llama is another really cool kind of model. And so that is something you can contribute to. And then something else you can contribute to is you go back to the tools, and then you have the list of tools, right? So here we have the GoldRush tool, so for NFT balances, token balances, and transactions, and so on. But you can add any other kind of tool, right? Let's say you want to add a tool to do contract signing, or you want to check a tool to maybe verify if the particular transaction is safe, all kinds of things, right? So that's something definitely we're looking to build a big library of tools. And then there's a bunch of other stuff. For example, there's the actual like workflow in the ZE folder. So that's basically the workflow, how it iterates through the problems. And then you have the agent itself. So this is basically how like all of the materials inside the agent, including the routers and so on. So that's basically what's going on with the repo. The documentation is also available here. So you go to the docs and you can also make documentation, contribute to the documentation. Though that's more like, I don't know if that's worthy enough of a contribution, but definitely if you find any kind of gotchas, open up a PR and it's much, much appreciated. There's two more things I want to talk about, which is how do you actually use this library and what are the use cases you can build using the API, using the SDK. So first thing is like, how do you actually use this? So to use this, we've built a very neat kind of tool called um, Create Z App. So you can just go to the Quickstart and do npx Covalent HQ / create Z app. And what this does is it asks you about a bunch of questions. Right now, there's one template. We'll soon have multiple templates. And this creates a fully bootstrapped tool to create a ZE. So, it just gets everything out of the box. Now, this is not very different from create React app or create Next app, if you're familiar with those kinds of like, helper tools. So that's basically what's happening here. And then you get the whole source code, and then you can like, use the agent and so on. So this is like something that's really, really cool. And the final thing I want to talk about is what kind of contributions are we looking at? So what we have here is something known as ZE use cases. It's on the cxt.build documentation site. And you go here, there's a whole bunch of use cases that we've written on what we would love to see built with the SDK. And so something like this is meteor. Something like this is worthy of a grant and further investment. And so this is going to be almost not just using the SDK, but also contributing to the SDK itself in terms of the tooling, in terms of the logic, in terms of like debugging. Maybe there's some specialized LLM that you require. Maybe it's going to create a chart, so you need some kind of like multimodal. Maybe it's like Notebook LLM or something that creates a podcast after it. It gives you a voice message, all kinds of things. So I think there's no limit to what you can build with this. So this is what makes it super, super exciting. So good luck, hackers. I just want to leave you with one final thought. I started Covalent at a hackathon. So, there's one weekend, I was just able to sit down and build something in 2 days, which was incredible. And Covalent has come a long way since that one weekend. And I really wish that for all of your projects to grow to this kind of scale. So just telling you that just because it seems like a hackathon project doesn't mean that it's a throwaway. It could be the start of something. It could be that Kindle that lights up a big fire. So I wish you all the very best and happy hacking. Thank you.